Good afternoon and welcome to the world of Salonpreneur magazine. Today I am chatting with Wendy Garcarz from Refinement, who is one of our collaborative columnists, and her piece in the autumn edition of Salonpreneur magazine is found on page 22 and is all about passing the scissors for stressless succession. And it's a really interesting piece. Everything Wendy writes about is about maturity in business and later life entrepreneurship. So, Wendy, welcome again.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
I know I really love doing these. I think it's so nice that we just sort of all get to have a little catch up every now and again. So this article is about succession, and I know when I had my salon, I was always kind of planning on what was going to happen when I didn't want it anymore or when I wanted to walk away. And I know in the end, I ended up selling mine to one of my staff and she took it over. But it's a really major thing in this industry of like, what do you do when you've given everything to your business and you're still there, either on the tools or managing it, how you actually extract yourself from that business? So, what kind of things do you think are the best ways to kind of prepare? And when should you start preparing?
I think that it's never too early to start
Yeah.
to think about this stuff because one of the things that struck me when I was sitting down to prepare the article is that your industry absolutely is dependent on the expertise that it grows throughout the decades, throughout the
Yeah.
fashions, throughout, the eras, all of those things. And the danger is that if you don't plan your succession, your industry could potentially lose all of that expertise.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's so important because if you look around at just any industry, not just yours, but any industry, one of the biggest things they struggle with in this digital age is that we lose some of those practical
Yeah.
skills, knowledge, intellectual capital. It gets lost, and
Yeah.
AI isn't good enough to just fill that gap. So
No.
for me, it's really important that you understand what you're creating as a business. And legacy isn't something you leave behind, it's something that you're living now. And so
Yeah.
if you are building this business, it's really useful to think about to what end, what do you want to do with it when you're ready to put your scissors down and walk away? What will happen to it then? Because
Yeah.
you've created an entity.
Yeah, or a beast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has a life after you, or could
Yeah,
have a life after you.
yeah,
And so you need to be thinking about what you want it to do. What message do you want it to create? How do you want it to continue? Do you want it to continue?
yeah,
It is your choice. But it's useful not to wait until you're sort of in your 60s before you make that decision, but think about it now.
yeah. I think as well, one of the biggest problems that we have, and you touch on it there, is this transfer of knowledge and the transfer of skills and expertise. And we're in a place now where, and I'm sure you probably see this across the high streets that you frequent, is that many of our high street salons are actually starting to disappear.
Yeah.
And that's there's yeah, I'm dread because we're recording this on Tuesday, the 25th, I think it is, of November, and it's budget day tomorrow. And I know that there's a lot of dread in our industry about what that's going to bring. But due to many of the budget things that have happened over the last few years and COVID and all the rest of it, our industry's kind of shrunk back from the high street massively.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think now we've had a lot of, and it's really unfortunate, there's been an awful lot of salon owners that have been kind of forced into shutting their businesses or closing or selling their businesses through a lot of means that they probably didn't anticipate.
Mm,
And
mm.
and we're now finding there is this massive loss of confidence again, a confidence within the younger part of the industry because they don't have that kind of peer support going forward. They don't have mentorship. And and our businesses that have been established for a long time are so vibrant with that kind of stuff that we are going to lose it all.
I
And
agree. And I think that one of the concerns I have, and I work across lots of industries,
mm,
and I see this in every single industry, whether it's retail, whether it's service industry, whether it's direct to customer, whatever model you're looking at. I watch people go and do their qualification, whatever
mm,
that is in their specialism. Um, but I liken it to learning to drive. You
Mm,
you you have your lessons, you take your test, and then the day you pass your test, you start to learn to drive.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's exactly the same with a specialism, and certainly in your industry. The
Mm,
qualification takes you so far, and it gives
yeah,
you the technical underpinning, if you like.
yeah,
But the flair and the creativity actually doesn't come from the qualification that you do. It comes from the
no,
people that you mix with, the bosses that you have, the mentors that you meet throughout your career, the things that you put yourself in, the competitions that you do.
yeah,
It's those things that give you the added flair to what you do.
yeah,
And if there is no succession planning, what happens to that?
yeah. Is nothing. Maybe we need you to come advise the whole industry on how the industry can have a sort of generic succession plan, because we are in the midst of this lack where everybody's kind of moving into self-employment. We've gone from a 65, it kind of switched around. It probably is a bit higher into self-employment now. But post-COVID, we had like about 35% self-employment of solos within the industry, and we're now probably well over 70%.
Yeah, yeah,
And that in itself, and as well, so even looking at it that way, we now have all these people that have solo businesses, and as a solo business, it can't actually operate without you, and
that's
you
right.
have no team.
Yeah.
So then succession plan, what does even succession planning look like in that scenario? Because literally, once you've had enough, you've got to down tools and leave your business behind, haven't you?
You have, and it's one of the things I talk about in the article. It's thinking creatively around that.
Yeah,
It's not just around if you've not got the sort of standard salon with your team,
yeah,
where you could maybe that used to be part of your succession planning, where you
yeah,
bring on, a couple of people and they might take over the salon. We've got to think differently about future models and about what that would look like. And it is being open to different sort of solutions, really. I think that your industry has probably gone through one of the most radical disruptions
mm,
of any other high street business. I don't know of
yeah,
any other high street business that's gone through what you've gone through. And it's because you've been constantly hit by challenge after challenge after
yeah,
challenge. So you were hit by COVID, and everything that brought with it. You've been hit by a reduction in the number of training places and the increasing costs of going
yeah.
to college and paying for that. So you were hit by that. The current employment law is just an absolute travesty as far as you're
I
concerned.
know with Rebecca, who writes on this, I think her whole January piece is around the new employment law coming in, because it's
It,
scary.
it's just it bears no resemblance workably to how your industry is structured. And then you've got all of the other stuff like cost of living rises, energy costs,
Yeah,
business rates. If you looked at an organization that was under the cosh, or an industry that was under the
mm,
cosh, my goodness me, yours is. And
yeah,
yet you still have the creativity, you still have the resilience of business owners that are just getting their nose to the grindstone and pushing through. But it's wearing. It's
yeah,
really tiring to keep doing
yeah,
that. And what I wanted to do was say, don't leave your succession planning until you're so knackered out.
yeah.
You just pick up the first solution that comes to you. This is an entity that you've created. You've put your heart and soul into it. Put some of that future planning into it so that
And
you're
I,
protecting what you've
yeah,
created.
it is. I think like, and tomorrow's budget, I think, is going to potentially push a huge, like, there aren't that many there's very, very few big salons employing any
Yeah,
longer.
yeah.
And I think that tomorrow's budget is potentially going to knock that even more. And so, today, actually doing this today is probably like so timely, because, tomorrow there's going to be a lot of salon owners that do have teams that are going to be waiting with bated breath for what Rachel Reeves says, and will probably have a knee-jerk reaction to that in terms of their business and what they're going to do going forward.
I'd agree.
Because with
I'd agree.
business rates where they are at the moment, and the lack of concession and stuff like that, VAT at 20% in the service industry where our costs are
Yeah,
minimal, well, not that they're minimal, but our VAT reducible, our VAT deductible ones are so minimal in the scheme of
Yeah,
things. Everything is about the team. And it does make, we've got a whole lot of stuff going on with the select committees at the moment and the business department,
yeah,
where we've got some of our big key players that are in there having discussions about how we actually come through, because we are a vibrant and always have been a vibrant part of the high street. And we're dying on our feet, and it's a scary place for anybody that's employing currently, because trying to find anybody that wants to be employed is a
yeah,
challenge. And
yeah.
now with the employment law changing, if you make that wrong choice, it is. I mean, it is a minefield of what you then go, what happens.
It
And
is.
I mean, all you can do, I suppose, is just be as prepared as you can be, and just hope that, yeah, let's hope tomorrow isn't such a negative day for salon owners across the UK.
I think that what will happen, and if you look back in history, we've come through lockdowns, we've come through recessions, we've come through, really tough times. And when you're living it seems like the worst
Mm,
time ever.
yeah,
And then you come out through the other end and you look back and you go, well, at least some of us survived and we're still here.
yeah,
And that will happen with this,
it would.
the thank heavens, the reality is that governments are transitory,
Yeah,
and they need to be, because because of regardless of whatever your politics are, they come with the good and the bad, don't they?
indeed. No
And
one ever gets it all right.
yeah, we no, exactly. We are going through a particular challenging time. What concerns me more than anything is that if your high street loses the salon experience, what you're losing is a piece of social fabric.
Mm,
Because, if you think about the psychological impact of a salon and going to a salon and having that experience, the networking, the chatting, the relationships that you're building, the self-confidence stuff that you're involved with, just that it's a piece of social fabric. And the
mm,
fewer of those salons that we see on the high street, the poorer our community is.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
just is. And I think for when we're starting to think about succession planning, when we're starting to think about legacy, we have to keep fighting that corner, because that isn't even on a politician's radar. That they're
No,
not concerned about that. What
no.
they're concerned about is the practical things of policy development and what that means, and tax generation and all of that stuff. But we're in the situation that we're in because nobody's thought about that
Yeah,
social cohesion. And I genuinely think that the salons have a massive part to play
yeah,
in that social cohesion. So we have to fight, and we have to keep that going, because it is such an important part of
absolutely.
what, who we are, really.
Yeah. And I think as well, like one of the things that, you were saying about, that as therapists and stylists and stuff that are working within the salon sector, we do have our nose to the grindstone, and most of us are so passionate about what we do. And even that I still do treatments. I thought I'd stopped, but I can't, because I still love making people feel better about themselves, and it's inbuilt into me. We're a whole industry full of people pleasers, really. And I think that in itself is what kind of pushes our industry forward, is that nobody ever wants to relinquish, no matter how much my hands might ache, or my joints are cracking or whatever, I still want to be able to provide a service to somebody.
Mm.
And that doesn't change whether, you're in hair or in massage,
Yeah,
roots or in beauty
yeah,
or wherever. All of us are there to provide a service to our clients, to make them feel happier, better, more confident. Like you say, there is so many mindset elements to what we do. We help people, I have people come to me that are trying to prevent going back into a depressive episode
yeah, yeah,
and stuff. And
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
when we help people in that way, I think the government are aware. Some of the work that the conversations I've seen at the select committees, they are embracing this, that they do realise. I think in COVID, although obviously COVID did no one any favours, it kind of did raise the flag to say, actually, people are really missing having that human to human contact that we provide.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And I think that the
I think
government are
as well,
slightly aware. I don't think they realise just quite
no,
what is going to happen when there's no one left on the high street.
no, I would absolutely agree with that. And what really troubles me is that there is also the intergenerational stuff as well.
Mm,
So we've grown up with that person to person contact, and we can do that. And if we need to, you know, pick a phone up to have a difficult
mm,
conversation with somebody, we're able to do that. You know, we run our businesses very much still in the face-to-face way. If you look at the younger generation, their ability to do some of that stuff, it has been severely compromised by
mm.
everything that has happened in the last 10 years.
Yeah,
And the reliance on social media and increasingly the reliance on AI as a friend and as a contact for
yeah,
some of the younger generation is quite worrying. And if you don't have just the normality of going on a regular basis to your local salon and meeting and talking with ordinary human beings while
yeah,
while you're having your hair done or to make you feel better, um, what else is gonna step into that and fill that gap? I can't think of a single
no,
thing. And so we don't, it's not just a place where you go and have a treatment or you go and have your hair cut or you know, or you just go and connect. It's not just about that, it's about the other stuff that happens.
yeah,
And so for me, when I'm thinking about the legacy, our wisdom is
yeah,
that we've lived long enough to understand the absolute vitality that
yeah,
that one-to-one contact can bring and
yeah,
how it keeps you engaged in society and how it, you know, slows down aging, you know, it increases your sociability, it increases your happiness levels, all of those things.
yeah.
Who is going to provide that if
I know, I
you're
don't
no
know.
longer
And
on
I,
the high street?
yeah, I do think it's a really tough question. I think, like this around this whole succession thing, is it just what is gonna happen? Because if we can't pass down our businesses
Yeah,
in the way that we have done traditionally, like me, I was very fortunate. I was able to sell my business, and I know at the moment I probably know two or three salon owners that are currently trying to sell because they've come to the end of their pathway, and they've made the decision they're just going to sell it. They don't really want to leave anything behind. I'm still quite proud. I every now and again, because obviously my salon, I now live in Norfolk and my salon's in Kent, but about 2 weeks ago I was down there and I drive past and I still drive past it. It's still got my signage up and stuff because she bought it like the whole like sort of shebang thing. And so I still drive past and I still have a little look through the window and see who's in and
mm,
I'm thinking it's lovely that it's still there. And for me, it's no longer mine, but that wouldn't be there if it hadn't have been for me. And I
absolutely.
really
And that's
love
your
the fact,
legacy, isn't
yeah,
it?
and it is a legacy.
Yeah,
So I mean, obviously now it's someone else's dream and all the rest of it, but I do feel so glad that I got to do that and got to pass that down and build that client base and pass all those wonderful clients on. And it is, I mean, for me, if I was in a position again now, I would want to try and do that rather than just closing the door because I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
is such a sad way to leave something that you've built.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And something that you've put your heart and soul into, you know, you know the hours that you've put in and the money that you've put in, the
Yeah,
investment that you've made, the time that you've created, and all of those, you know, all of those moments of happiness for the people that
yeah,
your clients that you've dealt with. Um, you be under no illusion that you as the salon owner, you as the creator of that, get a huge amount out of that. And
mm,
when I wanted to talk about this whole idea of succession planning, it is to pay homage to all of that effort that you've put in. It's
yeah,
not just about from a monetary point of view, although that's important. What happens when you hand that over? Are you going to sell it? Are you going to, you know, how will that continue?
yeah,
It's not just about the monetary response that you get, but it is also about honouring what you know,
yeah,
the difference you've made and what you've contributed,
yeah,
and don't underestimate the impact of that because it is important.
yeah. It is, and I hope they will still talk about me fondly. You never know.
I'm
Although
sure
really,
they
I
do
just had
too.
one of my clients messaged me the other day, and she was like, "Don't suppose you could pick something up for me?" She trades in like collectible stuff, and she's like, "Don't suppose you're near this village, are you?" And actually happened to be having a cup of tea in that village in the coffee shop, and I'm like, "I happen to be here now." Why she went, "Oh, could you pick something up and bring it to Kent next time you come?" It's like, so I still have my uses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is good. But so what other ways can we, so obviously you can sell your business, but also, there's partial step aways, isn't there? So
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
can, you can stay within the business. And hopefully if you've been building it for long enough, you'll be in a position that you have like a good team that are there and they've been with you for some time. And, that handover into, maybe upgrading one of your team into being the salon manager and actually taking the reins. I don't know. I don't think I could have done that, to be honest. I think I was too hands-on, too
I think it's
controlling.
horses for courses, isn't it? And I think that there's the physical stuff
Mm,
around physically what you're going to do with the salon and the clients and everything else. And there is that sort of succession planning. But for me, it's also thinking about what happens after. So what happens the day after you hand the keys over to whoever
mm,
that is, whether it's a team member or whether it's a group of independents that are coming together to
mm.
buy and create a co-op. There are lots of different models. But then what happens to you? And it is getting you to think creatively about what else do you want to do? Are you going to take all of that knowledge and experience and expertise and wisdom that you've gathered over the years and just, not do anything with it? Or are you going to go into mentoring? Are you going to go into coaching or training somebody else? The
Mm.
the the I'm starting to see a number of different industries create online academies where you've got experience that is being handed over, not in a formal qualification sort of
Yeah,
way, but in a very real, immediate way where
yeah,
people can come along and create quality circles or have hot seats where they can test their ideas out on somebody that knows what they're talking about.
yeah,
So when you're starting to think about it, think about the physical stuff about what's going to happen with the salon or whatever, or the therapy rooms that you've created. But also think about the stuff that's inside your head and what are you going to do with that as well.
mm, yeah. Because I think for me is that I'm still in all the years I've known you, I have been trying to get my online academy sorted, and it's nearly there. Finally. But for me, I mean, I've gone off and co-founded trade associations. I've gone off like I've got a magazine and I had a magazine previously and stuff. And there's always an outlet for all of that stuff that's up here.
Yeah.
Um, and in fact, and it doesn't always have to be that you have to specialize. And one of the things that I've discovered, and a lot of it through meeting people like yourself, is that the knowledge that we've built up in this industry is not exclusive to this industry.
Mm,
All of our customer, we all specialize massively. We are a service driven industry.
mm.
We're quite good at customer service and client
Yep.
journey.
Yeah,
And that translates into nearly every industry. In
it
any
does.
service driven industry, customer care, customer service, customer journey, customer relations, whatever you want to call it, we are good at that stuff. That's our bread and butter. Because if we aren't nice to the people that come to our salons, they don't come back.
Absolutely. And
And
I think for lots of industries, one of the things that they're so caught up with again, the online digital sort of solution givers, come and use my cookie cutter approach and earn yourself a seven-figure salary,
oh,
and all of
horrible.
that nonsense that's going on. But what they don't necessarily think about when they're chasing down those dreams is they don't think about the practicalities of what you've learned while you've been, hands-on doing that. And a big area that lots of businesses miss is customer journey.
Yeah,
Now, if you look at the very, very successful businesses, singly, the thing that they've absolutely nailed is their customer journey.
yeah,
But I'm looking around, and so I did my sales training sort of 40 years ago, really. And there was huge amounts of stuff there about customer service and customer journey. If you look around at the moment, there is very little about that.
yeah.
It's all really about a nurture sequence, how you can use AI to write this email for you or create that brochure or
Mm,
whatever. But that's not customer journey. Customer
no,
journey is about human contact and
indeed.
how you make people feel. You have a huge amount of intellectual capital in your industry about that other industries could learn from.
Yeah,
But it needs you to think outside the box to be able
yeah,
to capitalize on that. And that's the
absolutely.
legacy. It's a different legacy, but
Yeah.
it is a legacy.
But also it's something that, and I know that in your upcoming article in January, because I've just done the edit, it's just been putting that together. And I know you're going to be talking about what we can do next and the different ways that we can use that information
Yeah.
that's in our heads, because that is so vital. And we do have so many opportunities. And I know it's like I sort of all of my stuff is currently set up for Salon, but in the back of my head, I'm
Mm.
also trying to make it very generic because I want to step outside the salon industry. I used to be outside the salon industry. I came in 20 odd years ago and I've never left because it's so comfortable and
Mm.
it's just so easy and everybody's generally relatively nice. And so you end up in this kind of cocooned environment, and we actually have the power to step outside it. We don't
Mm.
have to, we can speak to the general public or the general business public about all of the skills that we have.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And that can
You
also
know,
be part of
I
that.
think increasingly, more and more, what the world needs is authenticity.
Yeah,
If you look at the amount of style over substance that you see online, you really struggle to find authenticity. You really struggle to find people who have got that real world experience.
yeah,
And it's the old adage, see one, do one, teach one. And
yeah,
you see an awful lot of that around and about in the digital world nowadays.
yeah.
And what is happening is gradually people are getting switched off by that because they realise how limiting it is. And
Mm,
we're starting to see a greater appreciation of how later life entrepreneurs who've been there, done it, and got the t-shirt, how valuable what they carry in their heads really is.
yeah.
And they don't always value it because, well, it's just what they do. So, is that relevant today or is it valuable? Hell yes, it's valuable. And
Absolutely.
it's
And
getting
I,
people to recognize that.
yeah, and I think as well, that whole thing, I mean, I love a bit of AI. Um, but I mean, my 30-year-old daughter was telling me off at the weekend, like, she's like, Mum, you're going to stop being able to use your brain. Please stop using it. And it's like, and I am very mindful of just how the slope, and I'm trying to make sure that I've got like enough grasp on reality that I'm not falling down that
Mm,
pathway.
mm.
But one of the big things is that human touch, the authenticity, what us older, mature, experienced people have in our heads comes with all of that human experience and all of that human. One of our my friends, she calls it human earring, and
Mm.
I think that is going to be, because we need that ease of making everything work, but it does need to be filtered through human knowledge and human experience so that it lands and resonates properly with people.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. But anyway, we probably best leave it for today,
Okay.
and then we can pick up again next quarter, talking all about the other exciting. I enjoyed reading your new one that's coming out. I like that. We
Good,
won't
good.
give too much away, but
No, no.
no. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me, Wendy, and I will see you next time.
Okay, lovely. Thanks a lot.